Political analyst Professor Somadoda Fikeni joins us on the pronouncements made by the South African Communist Party backing embattled Finance Minister Brian Gordhan. Professor Fikeni, thank you so much for joining us. Now, what do you make of the SACP's position?
It is a clear indication and also a threat that if the president goes ahead with the cabinet reshuffle, you either may see a massive resignation by some of the SACP ministers, or you may end up having a real possibility of a split within the tripartite alliance itself, or serious tensions leading to the policy conference. And ironically, all this happens on a year which is declared to be an OR Tambo year of unity.
Now, Prof, do you think if we look at, as you just mentioned the fact that it's either there's going to be a possible split or a huge division in the party, the ANC, or an exit of a lot of the SACP ministers or deputy ministers, do you think this will have an impact that they're looking forward to have?
Certainly it will have an impact because it will signal a breaking down in a complete sense of relationship amongst the alliance partners. And COSATU also has been quite vocal. And what we have been witnessing is the unraveling of the alliance itself. And this will have a ripple effect within the ANC itself, because it is quite clear from a number of instances that some leaders now are being emboldened to stand up to the president and his faction within the ANC.
Now, the SACP has rubbished President Zuma's claims that Finance Minister Gordhan and Deputy Minister Jonas were using the investment roadshows to push for regime change. What's your take on these claims?
Well, I do think that here history is repeating itself. You remember the Browse Mole report, which proved not to have any substance. And also previously, you remember the accusations of Cyril Ramaphosa, Matthew Posa, and Tokyo Sekhwale that they were plotting to destabilize the government. All those came to naught. And you can imagine at this particular stage that after so many serial changes within the intelligence leadership, it is most likely that you will have the political influence at that level as well.
Now, where does this leave the SACP within the alliance? What do you make of the current state of affairs within the broader alliance, as it were?
It is going to take a clear position now against the ANC leadership, because it has always been reluctant and it has always been emphasizing unity of the alliance, even at the time when they believe that some of their core values were being violated. And it may also give some impetus for those who want the SACP to stand alone come 2019, because increasingly a rationalization or defense for the SACP to remain within the alliance, if its voice, its influence may not carry any weight, might actually begin to lose traction.
Now, Prof, let's speak about if there is any action that can be taken to stop President Zuma from removing Finance Minister Brian Gordhan.
Only the internal leadership, be it the top six or the NEC of the ANC, can prevail on him. And what at this stage may carry more weight might even be people closer to him who may say they still support him, but they do not think this particular move may be wise, especially in the aftermath of the burial of the struggle icon Ahmed Kathrada, which seemed to have galvanized those who are opposed to any sacking of Brian Gordhan.
Now, we saw a lot of people who are in government and the alliance leaders and former President Kgalema Motlanthe, as well as former President Thabo Mbeki, also speaking out against his removal and calling on the president to ensure that he doesn't destabilize that side in terms of keeping Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan in his position. Now, speaking of the ANC leadership or people who are close to him, who can call on the president to, if it is the decision that he's going to make, not make that decision, is he likely going to listen? And why now would he maybe start listening going forward?
I doubt he will listen when the voices like the former President Thabo Mbeki or Kgalema Motlanthe or those who have been critical of him in the past, because at this moment he believes that he is being persecuted, so he believes he is a victim rather than a person in charge in many ways. And if those around him may reinforce that perception, then he is likely to move ahead with the removal of those people that he believes are plotting against him or are not being loyal. Because at this particular level, once the intelligence agencies start feeding into that perception, then the level of paranoia will be very high, and he may believe that his survival depends on him being surrounded by the core loyalists than anything. But unfortunately, if ANC cannot resolve these issues this year, progressively it may lose power, and it may not even matter who is elected in December in the long run, because it may not be government, be it in 2019 or 2024, unless it turn the clock around and resolve the issues of unity, discipline, and values.
Prof, do you think he'll still listen to the core people who he's surrounded himself with, people who have his ear? Do you think he'll still listen to those people at this present time?
He may listen to them if they explain the strategic and the tactical aspect and the risks inherent. But unfortunately, some of them may be interested parties who may benefit from the ousting of as many ministers or even voluntary resignations. So the advice there might be a lot more subjective, and they may just reinforce the perceptions and the fears that he has to act now.
Now, Prof, let's look at the way the president recalled Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan from the roadshow. Is the president compelled to give the country any sort of explanation when taking similar steps as when he basically called him back to the country from abroad?
Generally, it is the prerogative of the president to fire and to hire the ministers. Of course, this is often done through a consultative process with his political party. And if he has taken such a dramatic step of recalling a finance minister, his deputy, his DG, and the whole entourage from a trip that was prearranged, he will be under tremendous pressure to give an explanation. But the track record does indicate that even when such pressure is overbearing, he is less likely to take the nation into confidence into the reasons why they had to recall the minister, especially if it has to do with intelligence reports.
Are they going to be able to save face as the leadership of the ANC going forward if Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan and Deputy Minister Jonas are removed from their positions?
I think the damage will be immense. It will be very difficult for the ANC to retrieve itself from that space. Instead, you'll have a downward spiral of divisions, and the policy conference might even reveal more divisions. And going to the leadership conference in December, the issue of a united leadership might just become a pipe dream.
Could we see a possible situation as in the past where former President Thabo Mbeki was sort of removed, where there was two centers of power? Are we likely heading in that direction?
I think that is more likely in 2018 or early 2019, because if the current trend of a number of controversies that's around the president, sometimes due to some of the choices he makes and his judgment, then you are likely to have a new leadership, even if it is the one he might have preferred, persuading him to step down earlier to make sure that the election campaign is not crowded by the focus on him, but rather give space to the new person. They may give a lot more elegant reasons if it was a group that he had supported to rise to power. However, if it is the one that he might have opposed, then you might have history repeating itself and a déjà vu feeling of 2008 in September.
Now, Prof, very quickly before we wrap up, could this be that the recalling of finance minister from abroad was a barometer to watch how the markets would react in the wake of speculations of a cabinet reshuffle?
Well, I do think that the markets may react, but the damage will mainly be political initially. And if that political management of it is not done well, then it will have a ripple effect on economy, precisely because investors and economy itself is quite sensitive to the environment of uncertainty and even policy uncertainty, because you are hearing now the issue of radical economic transformation, which is interpreted variously, which means during the period of transition or during the fluidity, you may have the markets reacting quite sharply.
Prof, thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there for now. That was political analyst Professor Somadoda Fikeni joining us on the pronouncements made by the South African Communist Party backing embattled Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan.